Hello and Grüezi. Welcome to Zermatt, where I am taking a very long-awaited train trip. Today, I am taking the Glacier Express from Zermatt all the way to the other end in St Moritz. The Glacier Express operates 2 daily round trips between Zermatt and St Moritz. This is PE 902, the first departure of the day from Zermatt. The train consists of 6 coaches, 3 second-class coaches, a souvenir and bistro car, 1 first-class coach, and 1 excellence-class coach. There are luggage stacks at the end of each coach, but luggage can also be placed in between the seats. First class is set up fully with table seats in bays of 4 and bays of 2. Each seat on the Glacier Express has its own audio entertainment system. This is used for the audio route guide in several languages, as well as 2 music stations. There are Swiss power outlets, a menu, literature, and the table folds up so that passengers can exit their seats. We depart Zermatt right on time for the 7.5-hour journey to St Moritz. For the first half of the journey from Zermatt to Descentis, we will be traveling along the Matterhorn Gotthardbahn. From Descentis to Chur and onwards to St Moritz, we will be on the Rhaetian Railway. As we leave Zermatt, the tall peaks that surround the city fade into the background. Zermatt is one of the mountaineering capitals of Europe, with access to more 4,000-meter peaks than any other place in the Alps. There is enough snow on the high peaks to offer year-round skiing above 3,000 meters. I am traveling with my parents today, who had their own exploration of the Alps 40 years ago. Tea and coffee are served shortly after we depart Zermatt. My mother and I had tea while my father had coffee, and we all had some water as well. As we follow the Mater Valley towards Visp, we descend on a section of rack and pinion railway. The Matterhorn Gotthardbahn uses the rack and pinion to ascend and descend steep sections, as seen on this altimeter here. While some of the coaches date all the way back to the late 1980s, they've all been refurbished in the last 2 years, making for a very modern and pleasant interior with all the amenities you would want on a luxury train. The panoramic windows offer spectacular views that will only get more spectacular as we head east. This station is quite new. This version of it only opened a few years ago when the Lochberg base tunnel opened. The Glacier Express does not stop at Visp, and we sail straight through the station. However, this has become the main transfer point for passengers heading to Zermatt off of the standard gauge SBB line. From here to Brig, we run alongside the Simplon line of the standard gauge rail network. The BLS Lochberg line can be seen above the valley. Before long, we are arriving into Brig Bahnhofplatz, a station specifically for Matterhorn Gotthardbahn in the forecourt of the mainline Brig station. Passengers from Geneva, Basel, Zurich, and even Milan can join the train at this station. Brig is the last stop on the standard gauge SBB and BLS lines before they turn south through the Simplon tunnel to Domodossola and Milan. Naturally, SBB has a major maintenance facility here, complete with an old roundhouse that still holds modern locomotives. From Brig, the Matterhorn Gotthardbahn continues up the Rhone Valley. High mountains, grassy fields, green trees, and the river running through the middle of the valley make for some splendid views. After a while, we reached the mouth of the 15.4 kilometer, or 9.6 mile long, Furka Base Tunnel. Opened in 1982, the Furka Base Tunnel bypassed the historic Furka Pass route, seen diverging to the right. During the summer, the Furka Steam Railway operates over the old route. Construction of the tunnel allowed the Glacier Express to operate year-round for the first time. As we roll through the tunnel, the first course of lunch is served, which is a green salad and some bread with wine. We exit the tunnel at Realp, and Oberwald on the other side of the tunnel are the termini of the car shuttle service through the Furka Base Tunnel. These shuttle trains allow vehicles to bypass the windy route over Furka Pass. Here, we passed one of the car shuttle trains waiting to enter the tunnel to head west. As we pass through this picturesque pastoral landscape, lunch is served. It's pasta with beef for me, and a rice dish, vegetarian, for my mom, with the rice stacked to look like the Matterhorn. Our next stop is Andermatt. The train across the platform runs to Goschenen to connect to the Gotthard line at the north end of the Gotthard Tunnel. Immediately after our departure from Andermatt, our locomotive engages with the rack, and we are soon ascending high above Andermatt, looking back down on the station where we just were. This ascent will take us to the Oberalp Pass at just over 2,000 meters, the highest point on the Matterhorn-Gotthardbahn. Dessert is served as we climb up. I had a caramel custard, and my mom and dad each had a cheese plate. We are truly in high alpine country above the tree line as we cross the Oberalp Pass. As we descend, we pass this scene of a herd of goats and two herding dogs. If that doesn't scream Alpine Switzerland, I don't know what does. Just before Descentus, we pass our opposite counterpart heading westbound towards Zermatt. Here, we make a brief stop to exchange the service crew. The crew that has taken us this far will return to Zermatt on the train across from us, while a new crew will join us from that train and take us the rest of the way to St Moritz. Descentus is the next stop. This is the eastern terminus of the Matterhorn-Gotthardbahn and the western terminus of the Rhaetian Railway. The Glacier Express is the only train that runs through between the two lines. Here, our rack-enabled Matterhorn-Gotthardbahn locomotive detaches from the train. It is replaced by a locomotive of the Rhaetian Railway. This one in particular, number 614, was built in 1973 and has been in service with the Rhaetian Railway ever since. Now continuing east on the Rhaetian Railway, we follow the headwaters of the Rhine River. It is not long before we are in the Swiss Rhine Gorge. The audio guide called this the Swiss Grand Canyon. Having been to the Grand Canyon, I would highly disagree. However, I don't think it needs to be compared to the Grand Canyon, as the Rhine Gorge is very beautiful in its own right. The white cliffs are quite spectacular in contrast to the trees and river. Our coach has an accessible toilet, and although the lock is a little bit finicky, it does work. I'm happy to report that everything was clean and in good working order. Not long after, we're arriving into Chur, the capital and largest city in the canton of Graubünden. This is a major junction point where the Rhaetian Railway meets up with the standard gauge network. Trains from here run to St Gallen, Zurich, Basel, and as far as Hamburg in Germany with ICE and Eurocity trains. As we enter the platform, we pass locomotive number 618, which will be taking over at the other end of the train for the rest of the run to St Moritz. The train does change direction here, as we go back out the way we came for quite a distance before diverging to the south. Several miles outside of Chur, we cross the Rhine one last time and diverge from the line that heads back towards Disentis. Now we are heading south towards St Moritz along the Albula line. The landscape changes once again as the valleys open up. Being at the rear of the train affords us a view of the train in front of us as it rounds curves. After passing through Tussis, we follow the Albula Valley, crossing over the Solisser Viaduct. Tiefencastle is the first station that we stop at after departing Chur. From here, the scenery really picks up as we approach the highlight of our trip. It is not long before we are crossing the historic Landwasser Viaduct. This single-track curving limestone viaduct opened in 1902, didn't need renovation until 2009, and is the scenic highlight of any trip along the Glacier Express. After crossing the tunnel, the train dives into the Landwasser Tunnel, completing a turn of nearly 180 degrees. It's no wonder that everyone got their phones and cameras out and huddled over to the right side of the train to get their pictures and video. Only a few short minutes after crossing the Landwasser Viaduct, we reach Valais, our next stop. Valais is also the junction with the line to Davos, and in years past, some Glacier Express services continued to Davos instead of St Moritz. We passed through the station of Bergün without stopping. This station is home to the Albula Railway Museum, with one of the Rhaetian Railway's old crocodile locomotives on display. In 2008, together with the Bernina line, the Albula line was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Much of that is due to the engineering feat of the Albula spirals just south of this station. The Rhaetian Railway does not use a cogwheel system unlike the Matterhorn Gotthardbahn. Because of this, grades on the railway are limited to approximately 7%. This necessitates the use of spirals on ascents and descents in very steep areas of terrain. At various points, we pass under bridges and see where we are going. Then we pass over those bridges and see the tracks where we just were just a short time ago. At Preda, we enter the Albula Tunnel, which is the summit of the line. This tunnel is 5.8 kilometers, or 3.6 miles long. Having exited the tunnel, we are now well and truly in the Engadin. This is named after the River Inn, or the River Inn, which flows through Austria and Innsbruck before meeting up with and flowing into the Danube. Zermatt is our penultimate stop. This is a major junction point for trains heading to St Moritz, Tirano, and School Taras. As we roll the final miles into St Moritz, this has been an absolutely spectacular journey. This train takes Eurail, Interrail, the Swiss travel card, and the half-fare card. Reservations are 40 francs on top of that. It holds its place as one of the world's greatest railway journeys and should be a bucket list item for any railway enthusiast.
Thank you. Bye.
7.5 hours after departing Zermatt, we arrive into St Moritz, our last stop. In all, I took about 150 video clips, totaling about an hour of footage. The trip was an absolute joy, and I hope this video inspires some of you to make a railway journey of your own. There's so much to be seen from the train that you can't see from behind the wheel of an automobile or high up at 30,000 feet in an airplane.
Merci. Bye-bye. John, you go with Dad to get the ticket.
Thank you all so much for coming on this journey with me. If you liked the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any more of this content. I will see you in the next one. Until then, take care and goodbye.